Welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Yeah.
Woo! I said it right. Hello.
Hi. I feel like we were really sassy in the, what's it? Opener today? Whatever it is that we say at the beginning of the episode.
The intro?
Oh, yes. The introduction.
Yes. I mean, I think we're channeling the Lucifer sass of this episode, right?
Yeah.
Nah.
This episode was a really good watch. I will say that. It was actually a really good watch because so much happened. It felt really long.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely felt really long. Because you're right. So much happens. So much.
Yeah.
So we are talking about season 7, episode 2,
Yes.
Hello Cruel World,
Mm-hmm.
written by Ben Edlund and directed by Guy B.
Yes.
And I was saying to Amy before we started recording that this didn't feel like a Ben Edlund episode.
No.
And I think because he doesn't know how to write Sam. Because oftentimes the really good Ben Edlund episodes are Dean and Cass. Well, Cass is in like the first 5 minutes of this episode.
Yeah.
And that's really good. Like that whole sequence is just
It's good.
burned into my brain forever. It feels like this was maybe 2 episodes in one, which we've talked about like before, that a lot of Supernatural has that happens. But at the same time, one of the comments I wrote down was just like, this feels like everybody was giving about 50% of their effort. Right?
I actually agree with you. I'll be honest. I thought this was some of the, we can't blame Misha for this. He was really sick, right? First of all, this is the one I want to say up front. He talks about this in conventions. He was real sick for this episode, and he pushed on through that. I'm like, yeah, no. But yeah, the rest of the episode, I think, if you imagine shooting this episode, like actually having to like film it, there was so much happening and so many scenes that you would have been like, okay, do this bit. Okay, fine, done, right. And I think it's difficult to like feel the pace of it. I think the best parts of this episode were at the end. I say that with love. Like the warehouse scenes, okay. The bit outside Bobby's house, I think, is good.
Yep.
And the beginning is good, actually, to be fair, as well. Like that whole sequence in the reservoir, all good. And then the bit in the middle, it's just like, just get through the exposition of this season.
Yeah. Definitely. I guess also this episode it is a cliffhanger, obviously. Yeah. But like there's so many cliffhangers in this episode. Like obviously on a rewatch we know what happens and all this kind of stuff. So we know that Bobby's actually alive, and you know that Sam and Dean are going to be okay. So much, I think, also so much got destroyed in this episode. Like, so much got severed in this episode that I'm just like, this is too much. Like, this is too much to take on board.
If I was a fan watching it for like the first time, I would be devastated at the end of this episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Because like, where's the rest of the season? Like, none of my favorite characters are there, or presumed dead, and like even the one base that they had is gone, and like, where do we? It feels they do this so much in Supernatural. I can't even say it anymore. Like at the beginning of the season, they put them into a situation that is just hopeless, right? They're like, this, the last time, everything you worked towards in the last few seasons, gone, taken from you. You're back to square one, start again. This is the new big bad. They're worse than before as well, and you have to beat them with using none of the resources that you have gained previously. It's like some kind, like Sam and Dean are stuck in some horrible dungeon crawler, whereas just when they think they defeat the final boss, they get all their equipment stripped and like sent back to the entrance. Like, it's horrendous.
Oh, it's like starting a new, like the sequel of a game.
Yeah.
Like where you suddenly have to like have all your stuff taken away from you, and they have to explain why that happened.
Exactly. Oh yeah, all your friends are dead. That's why. And yeah, we burned down your house, so you have to start again. That's why you don't have your level 60 abilities.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know. It's just seeing Dean like with that burned out book and it just dropping to the floor. You're just like, they've lost everything. I know Bobby Singer is a paranoid man, so he probably has a copy somewhere else, but like I don't think he had a copy of everything everywhere. Maybe he does. I don't know. But like I'm pretty sure all of that knowledge is gone, which got me thinking, like when Cass comes back, obviously he's also not at full power, so this is not possible, but then I was like, oh, maybe Gabriel can do it, because like they don't have any angel friends either.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody there who could like snap him back in time to like gather all of those books before they got burned and bring them back to the future. But then they get the bunker, which probably has way more information than Bobby ever could imagine, so I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's my one thing that I'm kind of glad they didn't do, is like explode the bunker. I bet at some point someone suggested
They would
it.
have done
I
that.
bet someone did. I'm really glad they never did, because yeah, this episode really hurt. Like,
It does.
I kind of forgot they burned down Bobby's house, and like,
the funny thing is that you didn't, because we spoke about what happens to Bobby's house, and you said I'm pretty sure they burn it down, and like, yeah.
I was right. Why am I always right? Well, I was right because I've watched the show before, but like,
also you choose the word, like if you describe the worst scenario, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah,
because it's supernatural.
That's so true. Like, yeah, I was kind of hopeful going into season 7, but it does feel like a reset of what they've done previously. But then I'm thinking of later seasons, and I'm like, yeah, they do this all the time. So I don't know why I'm surprised anymore. We're like nearly halfway through Supernatural, and I'm like, why do they keep doing this thing that they famously do?
Right. Reset everything. Yeah.
But
yeah, and like it also kind of makes sense, because that way it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Because they've gotten rid of angels at this minute, which means the Leviathan, while maybe like immortal right now, are less like cosmically world ending.
Yeah.
Right? Because the way that going about it is very like piecemeal. Because as we see in this episode, like they're not like the angels and demons where they can just like just like impact the their surroundings.
Yeah.
Just by existing.
You're
like,
right, yeah.
No
yeah.
lights are flickering. No.
I'm willing to give this episode a pass, because as previous season starters have, like, I know we've already watched episode 1, but like, we need to get where we're going, and I'm forgiving it at this point, and I think I was too forgiving in season 6 because it just kept going on. But hopefully with this episode they can just lay down the facts. This is what's happening, this is what's occurring, this is why, and then
this is how.
Yeah, well. This is how, and then the season can actually start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's why they got Ben Edlund to write this one, because like he can do like a beginning, middle, and end kind of thing. So hopefully he was sort of like, setting up the pins. Well, we'll see. We will very much see.
Yeah, we definitely will. And with that, I'm happy to get into the episode.
Let's
if you want.
do it. Yeah, let's totally do it.
Sounds good. So we have the recap, which now I understand why they have Weekend at Bobby's. I thought it was just for Jodie, but obviously no, it's because this is Bobby's home, and like,
so right, yeah,
yeah. Then the creepy, bloody Sam smile, and this says something's not right with Sam.
That was good. That was so good. He's having a very like Carrie moment in that, like, With the blood.
Yes, yeah.
It's so yeah.
Yeah, so there's bits and pieces from season 5, and then we've got sort of the end of last episode where you see Cass fully taken over by the Leviathan. He's like, Cass is gone. And like they're all sort of thrown across the room. And then that laugh, and it like fades to black as he's laughing. And I didn't notice the laugh in the last episode, and hearing it again, I was like, he's just channeling his inner Mark Hamill for that.
Yeah, you're right. Misha could do the Joker as well. Like, he could voice that.
I think so.
Yeah, he could do that.
Could you imagine if it was like a Jensen and Misha Joker and Batman situation?
I would watch that.
Of course you would. So would I.
Want to see,
that's why I said it.
Yeah, I want to see animated series. I do. Yeah. Because like Jensen does do Batman, so like maybe they should, you know, Mark Hamill doesn't do Joker anymore, so maybe they should find someone new. Misha.
Maybe Misha doesn't want to. I don't know. Who knows?
I feel like he's not on their radar to do it. I think we need some kind of fan campaign, which we'll also talk about in this episode.
They're in the lab, Crowley's lab, and it's again continuing on from last episode. And Bobby is sort of getting up after being thrown across the room.
Yeah.
And Dean turns to Cass and is like, how many of you ass clowns are in there? 100 more? And you start to see this like black fluid like dripping down his face and arm and stuff like that, which I have the Funko Pop of that actually.
Me too. I was looking at me right now.
Covered in blood and black goo. And so Dean is sort of... Dean has so much hubris in front of like supernatural beings who are really old, because he's like...
The vessel's gonna explode, ain't it? Wouldn't do anything too strenuous. In fact, I'd call it a day, head on home. Huh?
His tone is not quite cocky. It's like... guiding. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Go home. Cass then just turns. He's like, we'll be back for you. And it's like stumbling out of the lab. And then we cut to Sam, and he's like hallucinating stuff. And it's pretty bad. He's like being pinned up against the wall. Some of the times I'm like, how does this work? Like, is he doing it to himself?
There are many unanswered questions in this episode about how Sam's hallucinations work. Like, I actually had to rewind the episode at one point because I was like, wait, what? And I'll explain to you when that was.
Okay. If only Mark Pellegrino hadn't turned out to be a complete weirdo. Like, because this would have been so good. And like, I know sometimes you can separate the art from the artist kind of thing, but I don't know. This one's a hard one to do.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, is it a veil or is it real? You know? It feels a little too like on the nose. Anyway. So Lucifer is like pointing out like, oh, you think this is real? Well, you know, this is all set dressing. And he's saying that, you know, still in the cell, you're still my bunkmate, my little bitch, in every sense of the term. And then he starts to say Sam. And then it crosses over with Dean saying Sam. There's a lot of Sammy in this episode. A lot, and like Dean is sort of shaking him, putting his hand against his chest and he's like, look at me, you know, you've got to button this up, come on, you know, we have to go. We then see Cass like stumbling towards the reservoir. This is the Leviathan controlling the Cass, right?
Yeah. I think that's why his movements are so jerky, because and there's all like there are sort of hundreds of them or such in the vessel as well. So I imagine they're all trying to control it at once, kind of almost.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's why he's so like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. So he breaks the lock on the gate, goes into you see him walking into the water, and then this like whirlpool appears, and then just black liquid radiates out of it and like goes all in different directions and then disappears, and Bobby's just like, oh hell. It zooms out and you see that it says public water supply, no swimming, drinking, fishing or boating. I was just like, no, this is the last time we see Cass for so long. Or Misha.
Well, I have a few things to say about this. So the first one is, as I alluded to at the beginning of this episode, this is the scene that Misha was really sick for. He had like stomach flu. And as the way they tell it between them from conventions is that he kept going, like they were like, yeah, keep going, and eventually Jensen was like, he's sick, he needs to stop. So I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I guess they probably shot the rest on another day because, yeah. Though I'll be honest, you can't tell from the edit whether he was sick or not in these scenes, which is, you know. Secondly, I thought that the whirlpool was awful.
Yeah, the CGI in this is not great.
I think part of the reason why people don't like season 7 is because you can really tell, and this doesn't sound awful, the dip in quality of Supernatural from the first few seasons, because they clearly started moving from practical to more visual effects, and they don't age well. They just don't age well, and I don't think they were actually very. There are some things that Supernatural do really well as visual effects, like I would say, and there are some things that they don't, and this is one of them. And I actually think the Leviathan themselves are also one that's not done well, which is a real shame because it's most of the season.
Yep.
Actually, all of the season.
It's just an entire season, yeah. Which is probably why it's sparing when they actually like show themselves and why they're just like people most of the time. But even the like black goo at the end of the episode going back into the person, it didn't look that good.
Oh, I know. I don't understand what that they could have used. I feel like they could have used a practical effect on that, but practical effects are more expensive, aren't they? So
they are.
Yeah. And when you're 7 seasons into a show, yeah, it's tough. Like because it was hard to see. I was thinking how good. Like while I was watching this, I was thinking, I remember the good times. Like you know when they had, they used to show some really good. Oh, I don't know. It makes me a bit sad, but I also understand like the realities of like TV shows. So I'm like, it's going to happen, but whatever. So after the title card, it would just go straight back to the reservoir, and Dean's like, "Damn it," and Bobby's like, "Oh, you know what? You said it. You know those whatever you call them," and sounds like Leviathan. So they're all pitching in on the things that they heard. Bobby kind of does a big exposition, like they're in the pipes, they're going to get everywhere. But Disney says awesome. And then we see like Cass's coat like float to the surface, presumably because his vessel exploded. I never really thought of that before. They did just explode again.
Yeah. It is kind of funny that his coat is the only thing that survived. I think that's kind of fun. Like nothing else, not his tie, not his anything, just his coat.
The coat's magical in some way.
Oh, you know what it is? It probably came off as he was walking into the water, just because the way he's walking.
Yeah, that
like
his arms
was
out.
being dragged off.
Yeah, I see it. See it in my eye. Yeah, it kind of floats to the surface, and Dean goes and like scoops it out and like folds it up. It's really sad.
Yep.
Interesting fact. Most people know this. That was improvised by Jensen. He was basically said like, you know, this guy meant a lot to him, and he was thinking, you know, when Cass comes back, he's going to need this. That's why he kept it.
Yep.
So sad.
It is sad.
And presumably that gets put into the trunk of the Impala, I think, and stays there.
Yes.
For now.
Well, you know, he should probably, you know, take it to a dry cleaner or something, because it'll get moldy because it was wet. You can't just fold up a coat and leave it in there. It's gross.
You're so right. He definitely did not do that.
Nope. But it's also Cass, so he can just like magic it clean. So
magic the mold away. To do like an infomercial.
Cass dry cleaning, magic the mold away. All
it takes is some grace.
Yeah. And she's manning the phones today. Anyway,
and Dean just says like, okay, so he's gone. I feel like Dean's already come to terms with the fact that Cass was gonna, like, something was gonna happen to Cass from before he was God, if that makes sense. We talked about this last episode. He's already been through those stages of grief with Cass. Like, we can save him from being God to, oh no, we have to take him down, to like, oh yeah, this is gonna kill him. One thing he does say is he just goes,
Dumb son of a bitch.
Well, he was friends with us, wasn't he? Can't get much dumber than that.
and then we get like a montage essentially of the Leviathan in the water pipes, and we see them. Well, first of all, we kind of see various scenes of people using water.
yes. Yeah, I know.
Just to remind everyone how water works, right? So there are scantily clad women washing cars. There's a woman drinking water in her kitchen or like filling it up. There's like young children using a public water fountain. Mm-hmm. And then we start to see like some of them go black. And the two that they pick out of these is the young girl at the park, and there's a guy fixing his car, and like the sink starts rattling, and he like walks over to it and stuff. So we presume that he's like gooed up as well. I don't know what we're going to call it. Gooped. What if Potter are going to come for me if I call it gooped?
I don't know.
So we go to Bobby's house and Sam is asleep. And Lucifer wakes him up, and as he does, like, Dean also wakes him up. So, like, Lucifer's like, wake up, and then Dean goes, Sammy, and he also wakes him up. And there's a lot of that in this episode of, like, sees Lucifer, Dean appears, and then Lucifer disappears again. Yep. Dean's woken Sam up because he's been sleeping for, like, 12 hours, so, like, a really long time. He's fully wiped out. Then he's trying to give him some food and water. And like while this is happening, I think like Lucifer's in the background or like sat on the sofa. I can't remember where he is in this scene.
I can't remember either. Yeah.
Because like Sam cut his hand, he like fell over and cut it on some glass, and then he took it. Yeah. He took the glass out of his cut, but Dean's looking at it again because it's quite a deep cut. So he's like, let me see that hand, and then like Lucifer's taunting him like he wants to see your widow hand. And he's being very like older brother. He's just like, yeah, you live here, and he like puts some whiskey over it, and like
at least do it with vodka. At least there's not much sugar in that. Anyway,
yeah, I feel like whiskey is not the beverage of choice for that. Like they must have vodka in the house. I'm sure Bobby has some like isopropyl alcohols in a first aid kit. You know, like come on, man.
More than likely, yeah.
I guess it helps with pain too. You know, it just gets absorbed into the bloodstream.
Oh, okay. They say ooze. Maybe we go with they were oozed instead of gooped.
Oh yeah, oozed is good. Oozed. I like the word oozed. Yeah, because Sam says so, ooze invasion, and he leaves. And Bobby says like, look,
whatever they're up to, it ain't about going Mothra down Main Street. They'll turn up.
And like remarks on the fact that he seems eager to get up and going again, considering what he's been going through. Bobby actually rebandages Sam's hand. I thought this was really sweet that they're like both taking care of him. I like that little detail.
I mean, if you think about it, Sam's wall has been broken for like 24 hours.
Yeah. So like,
it's really not that long.
You're so right, because it was like a direct continuation. So I'm not even sure it's that long because he like slept through half of it. You know, it was nighttime. He dragged himself over there at nighttime. Oh no, wait, it's been broken the whole time that Cass has been God though as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So it has been.
Yes. Right.
And we can only.
I forgot about that whole window of time.
I guess we can assume it's been getting like steadily worse over that time. But when Cass went full Leviathan, that was the first time that he saw Lucifer.
Yes.
I think it was because they made a big deal out of like him being there in that tunnel, that weird wet tunnel by the lab.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm ready to be proved wrong though. So they're asking after Sam, like, is he okay? because obviously he kind of bailed on them during that whole fiasco. You know, Dean's still annoyed about it because he's like, you know, we were acting like Sam had everything under control and he clearly doesn't have it all under control.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, well, you know, I'm sorry, like, I didn't do this on purpose, essentially. So Sam does actually explain kind of he half explains what's going on. He says, like, I'm having trouble, like, knowing what's real and what's not. And Dean's like, why are you hiding this? Like, he's really mad about it, which is because he's scared. And when he's scared, he gets angry. Again, like, not an excuse, but that is his reaction, like, to things.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you know, I wasn't hiding it. Like, I was just not talking about it, like, because you two had enough going on. And I was just trying to hold on to the safety bar and ride it out, you know, but, like, it's getting more specific.
Yep.
So he explains it all to them in kind of, like, away from the camera, because we cut back in and Dean is getting drinks for himself and Bobby. So, like, Sam's clearly explained about the whole, like, Lucifer says none of this is real.
Right, yeah. Yep.
And Dean rightly says, like, how do you even argue with that? Because, like, what could you possibly do to persuade somebody that their whole life hasn't been imagined?
Yeah.
And Sam's like, yeah, I know that's an issue. And Dean says,
Why would the devil holodeck you a whole new life when he could just kick your ass all over the cage?
Because, as he puts it, you can't torture someone who has nothing left for you to take away. Very good, Sam.
Yeah.
only Sam could come up with something so, like, clever, but, like, so convoluted.
Yep.
Because I don't think he realizes how much stuff he would have to make up. Like, he made up. If this is true, like, if it was true in his brain, he made up himself, or I guess Lucifer did, the whole plot of the French mistake.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And, like, I would be thinking, what has happened in the past year? Would I actually be inventive enough to make all this up? Or would Lucifer, I guess?
And, like, as you just pointed that out, the problem I'm having with this is that, like, you started having the hallucinations after the wall broke in your brain.
Yeah.
Like, you were completely fine before that. So, like, what is he questioning? What's currently happening now, or what's been happening his entire life? Because how can you discount the, like, last, late 20s years that you've had?
Yeah.
And, like, but, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be equated to, like, a mental illness, right? Like schizophrenia of some kind.
I don't know. But, like, I think it's supposed to be all made up since he got out of the cage. So it would have been since he was soulless. So that all would have been hallucination too. And then once the wall broke, he becomes aware of it for some reason because Lucifer chose that time. I feel like it is very convoluted, but...
Yeah, and, like, super convenient. Like, come on, Sam, you're smarter than this. You know that there's no way that coincidences happen. That, like, it was after the wall. Yeah, right. And now everything before that was never... No, come on. Anyway.
You could so reason yourself out of that. Like you said, like, because you're right, it's equated to mental illness for Sam. It doesn't have to be rational for it to feel real.
Yeah.
So...
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And even he's like, I know it doesn't make sense, but this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And Lucifer even says, like, it had to be a mess, Sam, or you wouldn't believe it was your life. Which is also true, because their life is a mess. And then Dean realizes, because I think Sam looks over to Lucifer, he's like, are you seeing him right now? Yeah. And again, like, he's angry about it, like Sam can control. Like he's cheating on him or something with Lucifer, like, in the room with us. You would have him here. Ridiculous. And he's like, you know, he's not real, right? And Sam just says, he says the same thing about you. Bobby just is like, I'm piecing out this conversation. I have nothing to add.
Yeah.
So we see on the television, in the background of the little girl's room who was drinking from the fountain. We do like a cut to this, about a surprise eclipse, because obviously death had made that eclipse happen so they could reopen purgatory. I like this. Ben Edlund clearly got my memo from season 6.
Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly this kind of stuff that we were talking about. It just builds out the world.
Exactly. He's clearly watching it, taking notes like, yeah, need more world building. So this little girl, this oozed girl.
That sounds really bad.
Sounds
actually.
really bad.
For children, maybe we don't use that.
Right? Again, with possessed, and maybe just
yeah,
we'll figure it out as we go. She's just like flicking through the TV channels, and it flicks through like a Bakerson's ad, which I thought was pretty funny, pretty good foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
Next week on Dr. Sexy MD, and it kind of like shows a little clip of the episode, and it's this nurse is saying, "I'm sorry, doctor, I forgot being head surgeon means you can cut into whatever body you want and take out whatever organ pleases you without having to do any paperwork whatsoever." And she takes that on board. She's smiling.
Yep.
Back at Bobby's house, Sam is like field stripping his gun over and over again. He's looking pretty chill, not chill at all.
Yep. Nope. He does that a lot in this
He
episode.
does it a lot. I guess it's almost like meditative. Yes.
Yeah.
Get a craft, Sam. Learn how to knit, man. You know,
Right?
like yeah, it's fine.
Make some sweaters.
Exactly. Make everyone a nice hat.
Yes, exactly.
Bobby and Dean are like talking about him, not that far away from him. He can clearly hear them.
Yes. But you know, Lucifer's chatting to him, so maybe not.
Yeah, that's true. So they're just sort of being like, he's okay, right? And Dean's like, I don't think he's okay. Dean takes Sam's phone from his jacket while he's not looking, and turns on his GPS, and he says, you know, in case he decides to like run away, essentially. And he's kind of like at a bit of lost to what to do, because he's saying, you know, there's nothing supernaturally wrong with him. Like, this is not something that we can fix. And like Dean would know this because he's been to hell, but he's only been there for a fraction of the time that Sam was in a less worse place, presumably.
And he had access to the entirety of hell too. So yeah, he was tortured by Alistair and all that kind of stuff, but then he was able to get out of that, whereas Sam was just constantly tortured.
Yeah, exactly. And like he was down there a lot longer as well, right? A whole year.
Yeah.
Bobby, again, I love Bobby in this episode. He turns to Dean and he's like, look.
How are you?
Who cares? Don't you think our mailbox is a little full right now? I'm fine.
Right. And weren't you pissed at him when he said the same thing just a couple hours before he spilled his marbles all over the floor?
Like, yes, Bobby, get him.
All right, I take back my comments about Ben Edlund right in this episode, because these are really good moments. I think it's just somebody else wrote like the action of the episode, if you know what I mean, like the story, like the exposition.
I get you. Well, it had to be got through. That's all that, you know.
Yeah.
And things like, you know, fine, I guess. And he's like, I'm not Sam, okay? I keep my marbles in a lead friggin' box. I'm fine. Like, okay, Dean. Dean, I have such good control over my mental health. Oh, sure, Dean. As you're pouring yourself a coffee.
Yeah. And you were taking God knows what while you're trying to find Lisa and like drinking. Yeah, sure. You're absolutely fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it too hard. Yeah. And Bobby's like, yeah, sure.
Of course. Yeah. Just lost one of the best friends you ever had. Your brother's in the bell jar, and Purgatory's most wanted for surfing the sewer lines. But yeah, I get it, right? You're fine.
And he's like, yes.
Oh, get it, Bobby. Yeah, snaps for Bobby.
The way Bobby says it as well, like he's so sarcastic. I love him so much.
Yeah.
And he even says like, well, if you want to decide that's utter horse crap, I'll be what I always am, right here. Oh no! That's a bad line in this episode.
Yep.
Fine. So again, we'll get back Leviathans. There's a high school, and there's like a swim team comes into the high school. I presume into like a locker room. I presume they were a swim team.
Yeah.
I feel like they were dressed in a way that made you think they were a swim team. I can't remember why. And they're all being students. They're being like, I'm a high schooler. Saying things like high school.
Even though I look like I'm in my early 20s.
I'm in fact a high schooler. And then one of the last one that comes in locks the door. And they're like, what are you going to do? You're going to get us in trouble. And he says, yeah, I probably am. And then he just attacks them and eats them, essentially. There's blood splatter everywhere.
Yeah.
Gross.
It is gross. So we then cut to Sioux Falls General Hospital, and we see Jodie and another woman who is just chatting away non-stop about conspiracy theories, talking about how you can't trust doctors because they'll do whatever they want and leave things behind, blah, blah, blah. You can't trust these people. And then the doctor comes in and he's like, good afternoon, ladies. And the other woman's like, oh, hello, doctor. Suddenly very, very friendly. Jodie is there because she had her appendix removed. There is so much foreshadowing in this episode for every single person in this episode, because the doctor tells her to the surgery went fine, but you need to take it easy for the rest of the night, and you're gonna have the happy drugs, you're gonna be fine. And Jodie's like, perfect, works for me. So the doctor then leaves, and he's just like, I'll see you first thing in the morning. You'll be home in no time. And then the other lady, as soon as he walks out the door, is just like, charming, isn't he? And then starts to go off on another conspiracy rant that not all of the doctors have. Anyway, he might not know your appendix from your vagina. Yes, he does. I'm pretty sure she would notice that if her vagina was missing, lady.
I don't say. There's nothing else to do in hospitals, so I'm glad people are chatty Cathy's,
It's the worst. So back at Bobby's house, and Dean has come back from a grocery run. It looks like they found some bad news for a change, which I thought was a really funny line, because when is it ever good news?
Right.
And Dean is talking about, Sam is talking about how the swim team had got mangled in their locker room. And they're all sort of deciding who's going to go. And of course, Sam's out, basically. Yeah. So Dean's going to go by himself because he's 5150'd, which is a medical term, a police code medical term.
Yeah.
Which is have to take yourself to a mental hospital.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dean's like, well, no, you're in the middle of a psychotic break. I can't leave. And he's like, look, it's only a couple of hours away. It could be a Leviathan thing. And he's like, no, do you think I'm leaving you alone? And Bobby's like,
hey, what am I, chop brains on toast? I can eyeball a kid. Go. Work off some of these nerves on something useful.
No, it says a lot, how seriously they're taking this Leviathan threat. And, and in brackets, not seriously, I guess, because they're just sending Dean by himself to something that possibly could be the Leviathans. They don't even know how they're going to beat them, anything. And they're real casual about it. They're just like, yeah, bye, you could die, see you soon. I guess that's their job, right? As hunters, they always kind of expect the worst when they go out on these jobs. But I'm surprised they didn't, I guess they don't really have anyone for backup, that's why.
Yeah, and I guess the idea is not to maybe engage with it, it's just to go see it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I think of how Bobby acts when he encounters a Leviathan in this episode.
Ooh.
But
recon instead of you're right, actually, to be fair. Fine. Yeah. And I guess because they don't know, do they? So they're just going to try and scrape it out.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Also, they don't actually have anybody to call, do they? Because most of the people they had to call on, that's season 4 or 5. They're yeah.
Yeah, because they don't have any angel contacts anymore. Because Balthazar's gone as well. Gabriel's gone,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote. Crowley is in the wind.
Yeah, but he's not an ally at this point.
No, you're right. Death, but they're not going to risk that,
No,
I don't
not
think.
yet.
Even though I feel like they do later on. I feel like they become very, very buddy. Yeah, so they have no one.
Mm-hmm.
They have no one.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And especially after what they did to Death as well, trying to bind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to. Oh, they did bind him. They didn't even try. They did.
Yeah.
So we then cut to a playground, and you see the possessed girl and the man from the garage. He just says, "You got yourself an awfully small body," and the girl says, "Too small. You know, she didn't know anything. Can't even see over the counter." This guy is named Edgar. I love that name. I don't know why I love Edgar, but I just think it's a good name.
It's a good name. I agree with you. Yeah.
And he works on a demolition crew, and he says watching things blow up is apparently very satisfying. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
I like this bit because it confirms like some stuff later on that basically when they possess people, they automatically gain all of their knowledge. Just that small conversation, which I don't know. I feel like I didn't catch that they did that the first time I watched through this season, because I was a bit like, why do they know everything about Sam and Dean? Like, why do they know about Bobby? Because it's all in Cass's head. That's why they know everything about them. And I don't know why I missed that on the first like run through of this, but it was definitely more evident on the rewatch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way that they've gone about establishing who the big bad are in this is just really well done. Like pointing out that they gain everybody's knowledge and that they can hop from person to person and all of this kind of stuff. You know, that they're hungry, and then you find out what they eat, basically. Mm-hmm. And then what else did they get? Yeah,
how they operate, so that there are some in charge, but there is sort of a power struggle between them as well, right? So yeah,
exactly.
And I love this kind of this is good exposition. When it's done like this in a conversation, you kind of like have to take the facts from it rather than someone just straight up telling you. I love that kind of stuff.
Exactly, right? Because the girl says, you know, I'm hungry. We all are. So she apologizes, and Edgar's like, sorry, they ate the swim team, and like she says, like I said, hungry. She then says, you know, well, what do you want me to do? So it feels very much like a family tree, like the top, and then it goes down to Edgar, and then it seems like she's in charge of a group of people, and then it goes down like that. Yeah. Which makes sense as to why they make a business, like they end up taking over a corporation, because they operate like a corporation, not a family.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it is exactly that, with that the CEO at the top. Like, if you look at any organizational structure of a big business, this is exactly it. Yep.
You get your CEO, then you get your directors, and then you get your managers, and then you get your employees. Yep. That's exactly what that is. So he tells the girl to get them in line. I don't care. You know, just make it happen. It made the papers, you know.
The boss, honestly, he just wants to hear it's taken care of. So take care of it. Quickly. I don't like bringing him bad news. Are we clear?
Actually, I have an idea. I could use your help.
It then goes back to the hospital, and the doctor comes in to see this little girl who's like behind a privacy screen. I was like, oh, they're going to use this to do the transition, because they can't do it they can't do it on screen. I guess she's just sat in there but like pretending to wait, but she doesn't actually have an appointment or anything, because he kind of comes in to be like, hey, you okay? Like, what are you doing here?
She's like crying or something. I can't remember. Like, she's making some kind of noise.
And she just says, "Are you Dr. Sexy?" And he says, "Well, I'm a surgeon." And he asks about her parents. She then asks, "Is it true that surgeons can cut into whatever body they want and remove whichever organs they please?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know where you heard that." And then suddenly, like, the girl grabs the doctor's arm as he tries to walk away, and like, clearly way more powerful than she looks because he's in pain. And then like, she says, "I want to grow up now." And then you see like her take on the form of the doctor behind the screen, and then like blood splatters on there, so where she's like eating them.
Yeah, because they don't need to kill them to take their body, to like copy their body, but they tend to eat them afterwards
because they're hungry. Get rid of the evidence, right? So we're then at the high school where the swim team were, and Dean approaches and sort of looks around. He's there for like 2 seconds. And he sees the black smudge on the wall and it's like, damn it. And then like leaves. We then cut back to the hospital and Jodie's asleep in her bed, but gets woken up by the doctor and like the other patient. And he's administering like the knockout gas, anesthesia, and like starts to roll her away, and Jodie's like, "Well, that's not weird at all." And she starts to follow the patient down the hallway. So back at Bobby's house, Sam is, so this is what I'm like, there's so much going on. So much going on, like I don't know. I was just thinking, did Dean really need to go up to the high school? But yes, because of how they do the thing with Sam, so he had to be gone and have to come back. But anyway,
I don't know though. No, you're right, because it could have been as a phone call. They didn't actually have to like set up that whole scene with all the blood and stuff. It could have been like him stood outside the high school saying, "Yeah, it's definitely Leviathan. I saw some black ooze on the wall. I'm just gonna grab a bite to eat and then I'll head back to the house." And then you've got like a plausible reason why he might be back. And it would like trip you out more when you find out that he's not.
Yeah. Because he does call Sam like here as he's driving back.
So there was no reason.
Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. I just feel like they set up a whole scene. I guess they already had.
Right.
They already had the set, right? Though, because they had to show the swim team being killed. So like, why not use it?
Yeah, true.
Presumably.
Yeah. I guess so. It's just because it's so short, and it doesn't. Anyway, it's okay. It's fine. Yeah, the kids are missing from the swim team, and they stole one of the parents' cars. I forgot. Of course, this is 2011, so Lucifer says, "I think Prince William found the right girl." Like, oh yeah, Kate.
Yeah. Do you know what? I got a day off for that wedding.
That's nuts.
I know, an additional day off. It was amazing. I spent it. We were like, "Oh, we're not going to watch it. We'll go out and do fun things." And then we just stayed and watched it on TV for some reason. For what?
For what? Like, really? I don't get the point of this question. Because Sam asks,
So you think these Leviathan things just jump into people? Like Eve did?
and I'm just like, well, yeah. What do you think they did with Cass?
We saw it happen to Cass. Why else would they want to be in the water? Like, come on, Sam. He's not firing on all cylinders at the minute.
All cylinders, yeah.
Give him a break.
Fine. Yeah. And I get it's for us, right? It's for the audience.
They're just like, in case you didn't catch it.
Right.
These people are...
And we didn't just show it like on screen of his, this person changing from one form to another.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dean's like, I don't know, but it makes sense, right? The state trooper has surveillance on the for the kids, but it's 6 hours old, and like they were filling up the car in the south of Dakota. So he's heading back, and they'll track him from Bobby's. They did a pretty bad job of tracking them, to be fair.
Do anything else, did they?
Because they end up in your town. So, like, what? Anyway. Dean asks how Sam's doing, and it's like, Sam turns to look at Lucifer. He's like, okay. And Lucifer's just like, just okay. I'm having a great day.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, Lucifer does have some good lines.
Yeah, I like the way they wrote Lucifer. I like hallucination Lucifer. He's so sassy compared to regular Lucifer. What I don't...
He was just a depressed little boy.
This is the thing that annoys me later about Lucifer, and I'm sure I'll bring it up again, is that Lucifer before the cage was quite serious, right? He wasn't fun. He wasn't fun, sassy Lucifer. Not really. He had some kind of good one-liners, but not really. Hallucination Lucifer is funny because he's actually Sam, right?
True. Yep.
But maybe that's how Sam knew him, so maybe we can give him a pass on that. But then Lucifer, we see when he actually comes back, is the same as hallucination Lucifer, and I just cannot pass that in my mind. He should be like season 4 Lucifer, season 5 Lucifer. Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah.
I feel like the characterization continued on, or maybe it shouldn't have done, because this version of Lucifer should be different, because it's not real. But
is it though? Is this... Because when Lucifer comes back, his motivations for like existing aren't to start the apocalypse. It's to get back at God now. So like maybe this was Lucifer all along, really, and like he was, because there was a little bit of sass.
Yeah.
And then like just being bored in the cage also broke him.
I guess, to be fair,
I don't know.
Sam spent a long time with him, so his characterization of him, even as an hallucination, should be correct. So, okay, fine.
Right.
It's always bugged me, but I feel like you've maybe talked me out of that bug.
Because, like, Sam became his entertainment, right? So that was... What I don't get is, like, why... What happens in the cage? That's what I want to know. Like, does it suppress their power? Is that why they couldn't have the apocalypse in hell? Because technically you had both vessels there. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. We didn't talk about it when it happened. I'm not going to get into it now. It's just going to be something that's going to be in my brain. And I'm just going to say that it suppresses their power. And, like, that's it.
Yeah. They're like in a big bubble. I like to think it's a big bubble. A big unbreakable bubble.
Well, it must suppress their power, because otherwise they would have been able to get out. And also I think of when Rowena goes down to the cage when he's down there, and like she gets like freaked out by that, but like he can't actually do anything.
I think that it's almost like a pocket universe, like it's actually somewhere that's like outside space and time, so that's where they can't affect anything in this universe or any other universe.
Makes sense.
That's my suspicions.
Headcanon. Yep. Sounds like a good one. All right, back to the so we're then back in the hospital, and Jodie has followed the doctor and the patient into like the transplant area, and it says closed for renovations, and he just like cuts into the body and like eats her liver. Jodie is like freaking out, clearly, because you just watched somebody get cut open, and she does actually see the Leviathan head as well. You don't see it in this, but she explains what it is to Bobby a little bit later. She then starts to go back to her bed and runs across a nurse. He's like, "What are you doing out of bed? You should be, are you okay?" And then Jodie just like collapses.
Because, surgery.
Surgery, yep. And also like painkillers, the like strong kind too.
Yeah.
And shock. There is that too.
Poor Jodie. She's not having a good day.
Yeah. No. So watching this, I was like, this isn't Jodie. Like, she looks too young.
I know. Yeah. It's the hair.
I think it's the hair. Like, I see Kim now, and I'm just like, no, but this is Jodie. Yeah. This is not this.
I agree. Yeah. Jodie looks better now, than then.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jodie wakes back up again in her hospital bed, and the nurse is there, and they're kind of like telling her off about being out of bed. She looks over at the other bed in her room, and it's empty, like confirming that everything did happen. It wasn't just kind of like some hospital dream.
Yeah.
You know, the doctor comes in as well and asks about like what was she doing, and we kind of know now that he's a Leviathan or whatever. So it's like. She makes some excuse about her stitches itching and she was trying to find somebody and then fainted. And he's like, you could have ripped your stitches open. Don't make me go back in there. And you're like, oh. They give her like an injection into her IV and she like freaks out about it considerably because, you know, she doesn't know that she's not about to get wheeled off and her liver eaten or whatever.
Yep.
And then because the nurse just says there's something to help her sleep and that they'll check on her later. As they leave the room, she like forcibly removes the drip from her arm.
You can kiss my ass, Dr. Monster Face.
But the like drugs are already taking effect, so she kind of like slumps down the side of her bed.
Yeah.
Back at Bobby's house, Lucifer is just like swinging around a poker, which... fine. They should have given like a pitchfork at one point. I think that would have been funny.
I know. Yeah. That would have been really funny, yeah.
And Sam is like questioning him, like, if this is just some dream and you've got power over it, like, why don't you just end it? And he's like, you know, this is the fun bit, you know, watching it all collapse, essentially. It's not like we've got HBO in the pit. All I've got is you floating over coals with half a hope that you're going to figure it all out.
There's only one way to figure it out, Sam. It's up to you. It ends when you can't take it anymore.
So the implication is that only this ends if Sam kills himself, which is pretty dark.
Yes.
Even for Supernatural, I feel that's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Sam's not having it. He's like sharp and like not engaging with him. And as he is shouting, Bobby comes in and he's like, "You good?" Bobby gets him some beer out of the fridge. Sam's sort of commiserating, you know, after everything we've been through, like this is what this has happened to me. And Bobby says, you know, you beat the devil before. And, you know, but admittedly it's different. As this conversation is happening, like, and Bobby says, you know, you're not in hell anymore, you're here with us. Fake Lucifer stabs him through the chest with this poker, and Sam just has to have, like, no reaction to it.
Yep.
But he does kind of zone out because Bobby's like, you hearing me? It's real freaky. Like I kind of enjoyed it, but like it's real freaky. And like truly terrifying for Sam as well. Like,
yeah, because it's like your father figure has just been stabbed by your hallucination, and you don't know if that was actually going to work,
right? Like for a moment, he would have thought it should, you know, he might have thought it was real, and to actually show no reaction on his face much. It's kind of, a lesson in control, I feel.
Yeah, right.
So Bobby gets a phone call and he's like, oh, that's my local phone. Like, hello? And Jodie's ringing him. She's like, my surgeon is a monster. So she explains, you know, that everything that happens. Bobby's a bit at the first like, who is this? And once she explains it's Jodie, he's like, oh, okay, you know, that's fine. And she even goes on to say, like, I can't exactly call a deputy here. You and I killed zombies that one time. Like, I know you can handle this. Please get to the general hospital before he eats me. And then they both sort of hang up. So Bobby says, either Sheriff Mills is having an Obamacare insured opium dream or something's eating folks down at the Sioux Falls General Hospital. So Bobby has to go, taking away another person that Sam was needing. And even as he walks out, he's like, look, like, I don't want to bruise your ego, but, like, you can't come. And Sam just agrees and says he'll watch the phones. And then Lucifer says, just you and me, hey?
Yep.
Back at the hospital, the swim team end up at Sioux Falls General. You're right, it's terrible that they didn't manage to track them there. Come on. So they walk in and they're all like cut up and everything. The nurse at the station says to them, like, what happened to you two? And Edgar appears behind them. It's like, I did. Where's Dr. Gaines? She's like, no.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, it just clicked that this was their punishment for eating the other kids so publicly as to get beaten by Edgar. Okay, got it. It didn't click until just now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You may continue.
So she's like, no, but then the doctor appears and he's like, I'll take it from here. These youths obviously require immediate care. Like, no one talks like that. So he takes him down the hallway. And he's explained about what hospitals are. So he's like, this is where people come to get their bodies fixed, but like, it's not a great place, essentially. And he enters a room where there's like a woman and a man tied up. One of the woman is Jodie's nurse, right? I'm sure she is.
I don't know because I'm sorry, all of these nurses were white and brunette.
You're so right.
So, like, I wasn't keeping track. I mean, it makes sense that it would be the head nurse who would be walking around, like monitoring the halls and stuff like that. So maybe. I also, the other thing I really love about this is that it's showing that the Leviathan have no concept of what humans are, because they were around before humans. So he's like, we're learning what they're learning, which is really, really good.
I think it's really interesting because we're seeing how they're trying to integrate into human society, having no concept of it. I think it's really, they're almost like aliens, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool. That's what Ben Edlund does well. Maybe he's just write an alien show. Just do it.
He should, yeah.
Like a more Mindy style alien show. That'd be great. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
So he explains that they can feed discreetly in the hospital, and who would know? And I'm thinking we take on the head nurse and the staff administrator first. Edgar says, like, I have to hand it to you. This is what the boss asked for. So showing again this kind of hierarchy.
You're off the swim team, boys. Time to pursue a career in medicine.
That's great. That was a great line.
So Edgar's not staying, and even Dr. Gaines is like, oh, I'd love to grab us a good anesthesiologist. And he's like, no, I've been asked to check in other areas. He's always like some kind of enforcer, middle manager, I guess, to be fair.
Yeah.
So he watches the swim team boys like take over the bodies of these two people, and he says, why can't they scream? And he says, oh, I severed their vocal cords. Of course, it was a delicate procedure but very doable. Again, like showing that they're learning the skills of the people that are taking on. I think showing as well the disregard they have for humans. I mean, obviously they eat them, but they don't seem to in any way empathize with them at all,
Yeah. And also we see this later on with the doctor, Dr. Gaines, that they can heal injuries. So it doesn't matter that he destroyed their vocal cords, because they can just heal it afterwards so they can talk.
Yeah, but they must be able to like manipulate the bodies on like a cellular level, because they don't like go into the bodies. They actually, I mean, they do when they first came out of the water.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right.
They are actually like shapeshifters, essentially.
You're right. So actually what I said was completely wrong.
No,
Never
but you're
mind.
right though. I think that's why they heal so well, is because they have this like control over the bodies that they're taking over.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because they're the like first monsters, right? So of course they can shapeshift like shapeshifters, but better.
True.
And like skin contact is precisely how like shifters do it too.
No, I just think of 2.5 Men. The baby like looks at the Pampers box and there's like a black baby on it, and
right. Then I thought they
just
you're right there. Okay, good. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe,
but it shows an evolution though, so it goes from touch to visual.
Yeah.
So they're more rudimentary. The Leviathan are more rudimentary because they are the first creature.
Yeah, and you're right as well, because obviously they are like fully fueled on hunger, right? Whereas later monsters have control over that hunger almost, because they could integrate into society. Interesting. Never really thought of Leviathans that way. So we go back to Bobby's house again. Sam is still doing the gun thing, timing himself now. Just to make it more fun.
Yep.
He hears a car pull up and Dean comes in.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing about... So, like, he's timing himself, but he's doing it really slowly, and to look disappointed at the time, I'm just like, well, yeah, because you're, like, casually doing it. Like, it's not like... I don't know. I feel like we've seen it in other shows. I've never seen somebody, like, field strip a gun in real life, but I swear I've seen, like, something where they've done, like, races against people field stripping and putting it back together.
And it's like seconds, right?
I'm just like, it's super, super fast. And I'm like, yeah, you're like casually cocking it. Anyway.
You're so right. Oh.
Or, I mean, maybe he thinks he's doing it faster and that's why he's displeased, because he's like, wait a minute. And the thing is, he can't do it faster because he's got a giant, like, gash on his hand. Come on, Sam.
That's precisely what I was about to say. Like,
Anyway.
maybe he's doing it because his hand was hurt, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know anybody else who watched this episode, but I knew that Dean wasn't Dean from, like, the moment he opened his mouth. Yeah.
Yep. There's something about him just, like, taking his beer in that way.
Yeah. Like, he walks in and just grabs it off Sam. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It's like...
There's something about that. He's done it before, but there was just some...
Way.
Yeah. Do you know what it was? They never have canned beer.
Yeah, that's so right.
It's always a bottle.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, what? I think that literally, I think that was what it was. That's all it was. It was a can instead of a bottle.
Why not? Absolutely.
It wasn't Del Sol, so we can't go off of that context clue, but
It should have been, I feel.
it should have been. Yeah.
So yeah, he comes in, he steals some of Sam's drinks and says, like, you know, I followed those swim kids back to town, and that ain't the good news. Like, it ain't just the two of them, I don't think. And Sam said, did you call Bobby? He said, yeah, he's working his own case. This is kind of proving how smart Sam is, because he's taken all of that Dean said. Because the last time he spoke to Dean, as far as we know, he was tracking them to the border of South Dakota. But he's taken the context clues from that, plus the conversation that he overheard, half the conversation that he heard with Jodie, to put it all together that they're the same kids that went to the hospital. Like, he's a super smart guy.
He is super smart, yeah.
So he's like, oh, you know, like, Bobby's working his own case. I got to move and I need backup, and that means you.
I know, you're bonkers. But luckily, I just need you to keep the engine running and wait by the back door. Just don't let Satan change my presets.
That was a great line. And I think it was the I know you're bonkers.
Yeah.
Really, that set it in. I think because Dean doesn't talk like that.
No, but
he wouldn't say it that way. He would be more like paint stripping off the walls, or like much more decorative with his language, rather than just like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like, Sam doesn't tend to flowerize things like that, you know. So
we've talked about this before. Like, the way that Sam talks to himself is really bad. Like, he's just called himself crazy, and like, you know, you're only good for keeping the engine running. You know, I'm just like, Sam, you need... I know this comes up in a little bit, but you need some help.
He really does. Like, he's just...
some self-esteem booster.
There's so much self-hatred in Sam, you know?
There is so much.
That comes across, I feel, sometimes as compassion for other people, but not always. Like, sometimes I think he's the colder of the two, even though he tries to do the right thing all the time. It sounds very interesting character, because, he definitely does not think highly of himself at all, which is why he's always trying to do so much.
Yeah, that's true. He's always trying to prove himself.
Sad.
Yeah. I blame John.
I blame John too. I said it like it was for something to be disputed, but no, I also blame John. Like, it's 100% his fault. There's no other argument for that.
Always. Never.
So back at the hospital, Bobby's got Jodie. He's taking her out of the hospital in a wheelchair, putting her in a cab, and he's like, she's explaining to him about the lady again, and he's like, it's okay, you get some rest. And she says, Bobby Singer, my hero. And he just says, that's the roof he's talking.
Yeah.
So Jodie's safe. I'm glad they established that Jodie was safe, like, in this episode, because I wasn't.
Yes.
Bobby goes down to the morgue and finds this lady. Her name was Madeline Hackett.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sorry.
that's
Hackett.
very funny, to be fair. Thanks, Edmund.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, she had foot surgery but died this morning. And when he pulls down the sheet, she's already had an autopsy. He's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Back with Sam and Dean, again, like cutting through loads. Yeah, again, Dean is too mean because it's Sam talking to himself. He's like, how are you doing in the head region? Devil's still riding shotgun. And Sam's like, yeah, no, not now, but like, yeah. They kind of talk through whether or not Sam should go get some professional help. Sam's against it at the minute because he's like, they're just going to stuff me full of pills. Like, we'll figure something else out. Dean brings up, there was a hunter, I can't remember what season it was. He's like, do you remember when Martin took his nosedive and started shooting at nothing? Like, I mean, his sweater unraveled fast. I'm sure they mentioned it. I can't remember where that comes from. But it's definitely another hunter.
Yeah.
And Dean says, like, oh, this is so hard. Like, this line, I really don't like it. He's like...
No, but you're crazy. That don't wash off. You get that, right? You are never going to be okay, Sam.
And that is Sam talking to himself.
Yep.
But then we see Dean pull up at Bobby's house. And he goes into the house. He's like, Subby! And he's like, oh, crap. He's gone. Back with Sam and not Dean. The Impala pulls up. Now, this is what I went to rewind. Because I was like, what? How? But then it kind of explains it later. Because, okay, never mind. I'll talk about it at the end of this scene, I guess.
Okay.
Because, no, I will talk about it now. What car is he driving?
Yeah. He's driving the van. You see it?
The van?
When Dean pulls up.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I tried to rewind it to find out what car he was driving, and I did not see it at all. So I was like, did he just like, what? Okay.
So, to kill whatever, for whatever reason, they decided to keep the illusion going, even though they just revealed that it's not Dean in the car. They keep the Impala, and they're like pulled up in front of this like fancy looking building. But when Dean actually arrives at the warehouse, you see Bobby's old van when he was in the wheelchair.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because I knew obviously he hadn't driven the Impala there because it's impossible. But I was like, how did he get there? And even he asks, I don't know how. I think even Sam says, I don't know how I got here later on. And I was like, yeah, how did he get here? And I tried to find out, and I did not see that van. So yeah, thanks for explaining that to me. So yeah, Sam pulls up in front of this building, and they see these people in through a glass window.
Do you know what? I kind of want to go back and look at their faces because I feel like those people, like this building is very reminiscent of where Charlie ends up working.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if those people are actually Leviathan later on in the season. That would be too much for Supernatural, but that would be really cool.
It'd be interesting to know, like, where has Sam got this kind of corporate idea from, actually? Because, like, there's been no indication that the Leviathan operate like that at all. So, yeah, it's interesting where this has come from. I don't understand, like, where he's pulled that in his brain.
Yeah. I was really worried for a moment because I've forgotten how this episode goes. I thought he was actually just going to go up in there and, like, start shooting at them. And I was like, oh, God.
I mean, I guess that's why he kind of asked for help at the end of this, because he's like, that could have been a total possibility, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, Dean's like, you know, you get in there, you keep it together, and Sam must have asked some questions because surely he was told at the beginning that he was only going to stay in the car, but why is he now going with Dean? And then we see Sam holding the keys as he gets out of the car, even though he wasn't driving in his own hallucination. Just can't even drive the car, you're in head, Sam.
No, you're always riding shotgun. Well, so he couldn't be driving because of the devil ride shotgun.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it.
It would have given it away.
You're so right.
Yeah.
So they have this back and forth about, like, you know, this not Dean is saying, like, you know, you're seeing all kinds of crap, like, you're out of control, and Sam's trying to argue back.
How's this helping?
I'm just saying, Sam, you're out of control.
I'm dealing with it the best I can.
And then as they walk into this building, he's like...
You think this is an office building, right?
As they walk in. And there's a sign there that says Morning Star Endeavors, which obviously like Morning Star is another name for the devil. Yeah, it was just so... it was so trippy and weird. Like, I kind of liked it. It was really odd. And then they're in a warehouse. So they've gone through the front door of this office building as Sam's seen it, and they've entered a warehouse, essentially. And he's like, wrong. And then he goes on to like, probably like, you think I'm Dean, right? And then he morphs into Lucifer again.
Yeah.
Sam freaks out, tries to walk away, and Lucifer's shouting after him like, your world is whatever I want it to be, understand? And then Sam turns and shoots at him.
Oh, gosh.
I know, right? And then, of course, like, Lucifer appears behind him instead. He's like, oh yeah, Pinocchio's starting to see his strings. Like, it's just so manipulative. But like, Sam's manipulating himself. It's a mind trip.
It is a mind trip. And I'm just like, another layer to this, which I'm glad they didn't do. But like, they go to an office building. It is actually the office building, not a warehouse. But he's changed it to look like a warehouse. So Sam is firing, but he's actually killing people because he is actually in
like
office
Inception
building.
style.
Like, that's like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah. I'm glad they didn't do that because that's a little too convoluted and like too much. And I think it's a little too on point with some of the like violence that happens in America. So I don't think they would do that.
But I think the possibility of something like that happening, like I said, is the thing that like really triggers Sam to get help in this season, because he realised that he could have really hurt somebody. Especially driving as well. Like, he didn't even know that he was driving.
Yeah, right. I mean, luckily it seems like it's a small town and on back roads. So, yeah.
So, again, like, Lucifer is trying to egg Sam on to shoot himself, essentially. And, yeah, that's how that scene ends as we go back to the hospital morgue. So, Bobby is, like, looking over Miss Hackett. And he's like, oh, no, that's a horrible line. It's like a freaking doggy bag. It's disgusting. Dr. Gaines comes in and he's like, can I help you? Bobby takes out his ID or whatever. I think it's actually upside down, which I thought was a pretty cute little thing.
Yeah, it's all like he fumbles with it, which I think is great.
He's like, who's responsible for this sloppy bit of documentation? And Dr. Gaines just says, I know you. So their stuff doesn't work on them because, like, they're known by all of the Leviathan.
See, I thought he was saying, I know you, because it's the Sioux Falls General Hospital and Bobby's had to go to hospital, so he's been a patient. Yeah. That's where I went first, and I was like, no, that's not
because he said, Bobby Singer, yes, we saw you through the angel's eyes. So Bobby just like grabs like a mallet off the table and just smacks him in the head and like legs it.
Let's try for amnesia. That's great.
And then we see the Leviathan transformation where his like head tilts back at the jaw and like you see the massive teeth and the tongue and everything. It's like blah 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 blah. Bobby tries to shoot Dr. Gaines, but he's fine and he just like oozes black ooze everywhere. Bobby just says fair enough
and runs away. That's like that's the best thing ever. He knows when he's not. Yeah.
He's like, no, I can't win this. Bye. See ya.
Yeah.
So Dean's found Sam using that GPS that he put on his phone, which was a good idea in hindsight. You're right. He pulls up next to a black van and gets out of the actual Impala. Back in the warehouse, Sam and Lucifer, who's not really there, is still going at it. And then Dean walks into this situation. And he's like, Sam! What are you doing? And Dean and Sam like turns and points a gun at him, and he's just like whoa, you know, like tries to talk him down. Sam's really confused. I really like this bit of acting from Jared. Like his face looks really anguished, like he's genuinely confused.
Whoa! I thought I was with you, Dean.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, it's sad.
The heartbreak.
Because again, what do you do to like Dean's in a really hard situation, having to convince him that he's real. So they kind of go back and like Dean says, you know, oh, okay, let's start at the beginning, essentially. And Sam's like, I don't remember driving here. And then Lucifer says, like, that's because I drove. And then he says, Sam is very suggestible. Like, but he directs it like he's talking to Dean. And then Sam tries to shoot him again. And Dean's like, whoa, hey. He says this line, which it seems really out of character, but like, it almost sounds like something John would say.
Yes. Yep.
This discussion does not require a weapons discharge.
It's like really formal.
It's really not helping his case that that's Dean, because that's not what Dean would really say, but he's also trying to be serious. He's trying to get through, like, you're right that it is exactly what John would say, but like but Dean is taking on like an authority figure for this conversation, because that's the only way he knows how to maybe help.
Which like is good. Like he's staying calm, right? Which is what you should do. And he goes on to say, like, look, you know, I know a thing or two about torture. I've been to hell, like enough to know that it feels different. Like that the pain of this regular stupid crappy this is like different. And Sam's like, oh, you know, how can you know that for sure? And Dean says, can he see Sam's hand? So Sam offers his hand out, his injured one. Well, after he corrects him, he passes him the other hand. And he digs his fingers into it.
This is real. Not a year ago, not in hell, now. I was with you when you cut it, I sewed it up.
And as he squeezes it, we see Lucifer like flicker, almost like a TV kind of flicker.
Yeah. Or like a ghost.
Yeah, like a ghost. You're so right. Dean is very seriously like keeping intense eye contact with Sam while he's like squeezing his hand and saying like, this is real, this is real. And Lucifer is obviously trying to say like, no, like, why would you think that? Of course I'm real, etc. But we're still seeing him flicker. Eventually, like, Sam realizes that it's that's kind of helping, and he starts like pushing his own hand into his hurt hand. While he's doing this, by the way, Dean does manage to like take the gun, I think, from Sam. Yeah. But he's almost like distracting him, and he says to him like, you know, I'm your flesh and blood brother, okay? I'm the only one who can legitimately kick your ass in real time. Like, you got away, we got you out, Sammy. Oh yeah. This was good. This scene was good. I really liked it. And it kind of sets a lot of Sam's story up for the next bit of the season, of him like understanding what's real and what's not. The one thing he did say though, Dean says like, believe in that, believe me, okay? And I was just like, don't believe in yourself, believe in me. He believes in you. Yeah, which is a terrible early 2000s anime reference for anyone out there who was Tengen Toppengur and Legend.
God, I know about that, yeah.
So yeah, they're all good. Sam's good for now. Like, he's decided that everything's like Dean is real, and he's gonna go with him.
The thing is, I don't think, like, even though Sam nods and says and agrees, as he says yes and like nodding, he's not looking at Dean. He's looking at Lucifer disappear.
You're so right.
So like, he's, you know, Dean is telling him to believe in, you know, me and, you know, believe in that, and that will make it stone one. But like, it was just proven to Sam that his hallucination could take any form.
Yeah, so how can he trust Dean if he doesn't know if he's really there or not? You know, if he's really Dean.
Right. And who's to say, because obviously Sam drove himself here, so he can do, like, the hallucination can be so much that he can do things. So what's to say that he wouldn't press his own thumb into his hand thinking it was going to work? And it does work.
So right.
Quote unquote.
I think he goes along with this situation because it's de-escalating, right?
Yeah. And oh god, it also just there's so many things in this season that I'm like, or with Sam's character in this, that I can understand why Supernatural draws in, you know, people who have suffered with similar situations. It's annoying that they don't really address these situations properly, because obviously Cass taking away your mental illness is not going to happen in reality. But essentially what I kind of got from this as well was that the only way to make these hallucinations stop is to hurt yourself. And it's like, oh no, I don't want you to do that, Sam. That's not helpful.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
like, yeah, and it's just, it's not. That's not the thing you should believe in, right? Like,
you're totally right. Like, yeah, that's not a good grounding to have, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, I think the good thing about this season is that Sam ultimately does get help, if that makes sense. Like, he does.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that was a good choice they made on the writers, considering where they were taking his storyline. Because that's the thing you want to, like, model. But it's difficult to do so for a character that's so used to not getting any help. Yeah, it's interesting. I like how they I do like how they explore Sam's character in this season, and how, again, like how it informs him later on as well. Because I do think this whole season has a big effect on his personality later on.
Yeah, 100%.
So while Sam is agreeing to leave the warehouse, Dean gets a call from Bobby, and he's like,
no, Sam gets a call.
Sorry, yes, you're right. Sam gets a call from Bobby, which I think is just like the worst timing ever for Bobby to call. Right. Like, let him at least get in the car.
Yeah.
And he's like,
The hospital thing's definitely our kind of thing. I double-barreled one of them in the morgue. Silver buckshot, no effect.
And like Sam just looked like, he's on this phone call to Bobby. He looks so tired. He's like, what else is happening other than this?
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm falling back. I'll meet you at the house. Like, we can regroup. And Sam hangs up and just says to Dean, like, Bobby's got a live one, and off they go.
Yeah.
So back in the Impala, Dean's saying, like, look, can we get back to Bobby's? And Sam's like, no, it's okay, Dean. Like, I'm good. No white rabbits. I'm not seeing anything. And Dean's like, okay, fine. Baby steps. They kind of like smile at each other, like everything's gonna be okay. And then they pull around the corner and see Bobby's house literally gone, like gone. It's just a shell of its former self, like it's all been burnt down. And they get out of the car and they're just like, oh no, it makes me so sad.
It does.
It makes me sadder than the Roadhouse. But like, the thing is that it does make sense though, like, because they do know everything about them, why they would go after their home base like this. The kind of
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. They know that all of their knowledge is there because Cass knew that all of their knowledge was there. They know that it's a place of comfort, so of course they would take it away. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love Bobby's house. Like, that set is so good that I can't imagine not seeing it again now. It makes me really sad.
It does. And it just... so, like I said, there's so much foreshadowing in this episode. Because seeing Bobby get stabbed through the heart, obviously he dies this season. Losing the house is clearly foreshadowing of some kind. Like, there's... Bobby is doomed. Like, you should
yeah, I think losing the house is actually foreshadowing them losing the Impala, because they lose both their homes in this season.
It's true. Yeah. They do. Ugh. Yeah. Hate it. So Dean walks out of the house, and this is where I'm saying that seeing him with this burned book and just dropping it on the floor. And they've clearly gone into the house trying to find Bobby because they assume that he was there because that's where Bobby was saying he was going. But there's no sign of him anywhere. So the place had been torched, and it was by someone who knew what they were doing, which makes sense as to why it was Edgar, because he is a demo.
Yeah.
Works on a demo crew. So of course he knows how to burn down a
Nice.
house. Yeah. As they're sort of walking through the sort of side garage where we've seen them fix the Impala a few times, and he like points for Sam to go look somewhere else, and Dean makes a phone call to Bobby and leaves. Oh god, this is so reminiscent of freaking Home.
Oh yeah.
Is it Home? No, it wasn't.
Yes,
It was Home from season 1, where he leaves a voicemail for his dad, who may or may not hear it. We don't know. He probably does hear it. And it's just like, it's him saying he doesn't know what to do. He's not okay. He says,
You cannot be in that crater back there. I can't. If you're gone, I swear, I am going to strap my beautiful mind brother into the car. I'm going to drive us off the pier.
which is just like,
Woody.
can we not talk about like sibling homicide, suicide,
Yeah,
please?
Just for one
too much
episode,
of
can we stop talking about it?
You asked me how I was doing? Well, not good. And you said you'd be here. Where are you?
Is so reminiscent to that phone call to John at the end of that, or in the middle of that episode. I'm gonna laugh so hard if Missouri comes back in the next episode, by the way.
Oh, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah. Because that's when we meet Missouri for the first time. So he then hangs up and they start walking around the property more, and they're yelling out for Bobby. He then turns the corner and sees Edgar. So he then says, Winchesters, congratulations. Apparently you two are competent enough to warrant annihilating. I take that as a compliment. This is a really cool shot because like suddenly Edgar gets like shot in the side of the head, like just out the blue. And it's Dean. It's just like, whoa. But it has no effect. He then does his whole Leviathan face thing. It's just like a rah. I don't know why he did that, because like it didn't do anything, because he goes back to normal.
It's almost like an aggression thing, like an animal.
Yeah, I guess so. A war cry kind of thing. Because he then knocks the gun out of Dean's hand, bungee cord, and then throws him against the car, where it shows that his leg is now broken or very injured. Dean is like crawling towards the car, like we're not really sure what he's doing, and then you see like the claw hand. Bobby does not have very good safety. He just like leaves cars just hanging around, literally hanging around. Because then Sam then yells, Dean, now, and he pushes the button to like let go of the car, and it squishes Edgar. And you see all this like black goo, like, or before that happens, like Edgar like somehow knocks out Sam.
Because Sam goes up and like punches him to like distract him into like basically get him into place, and then shouts at him, and I think maybe he hits him back.
Yeah, and then he gets like, when the car drops, he like goes backwards and hits himself in the head and knocks himself out. Dean then like crawls over to Sam and he's like, you gotta wake up.
Come on, I'm the one with the broken leg. You gotta carry me. Sam!
He then gets out his phone and like makes a phone call.
It's bad. It's bad when they're ringing like 911.
Yeah. The fact that they're both in the same ambulance, I don't think would ever happen, but anyway, that's fine.
You're so
I think
right.
usually you
especially because
have to have separate ones.
Especially because Sam's unconscious, I think they would put him in his own ambulance. But anyway.
But then Dean would insist, right? He would insist that he has to be with his brother. So I can see it too.
Yeah, because somebody in an ambulance together. It's road tripping, And Dean's shouting at Sam because of course he is, because he's still unconscious. He's just like, you stay with me. Yeah. The paramedic is talking about Sam. He's saying like he has signs of increasing intracranial pressure, meaning his head's swelling. When Sam opens his eyes and sees Lucifer sat in the back of the ambulance, and he's like,
hey, so maybe I'm not real. Nobody's perfect. And I'm not going anywhere, Sam.
And then he kind of almost has like a demon blood seizure, like he did before. It kind of looks like, he's like thrashing around.
Yeah.
And as they're pulling up, it says like, we're just pulling into Sioux Falls, and Dean's like, no. It's like, you got to take us somewhere else, anywhere else, please. And Paramus is like, okay, sure, you know, like. So they're at the hospital, and we see Edgar under the car, and his hand twitches, and the ooze is like retreating back into his body. That's the end of the episode.
That's the end of the episode. So, of course, like, more things are clicking as we're talking about it. Sam has an, like, intracranial pressure, which means he might have to have surgery to relieve that pressure. Well, who's going to be doing the surgery? Dr. Gaines. Yeah.
Why? Is he some kind of, like, super specialist? Because he did foot surgery, abdominal surgery, and now apparently...
Well, he's a surgeon.
Yeah, but they don't do all the things.
They do.
They don't do all the things. Grey's Anatomy would lead me to believe otherwise.
Well, I mean, it is also a small town, so maybe he's a general surgeon. But I mean, yeah, you're right. But they probably do have a head surgeon or neurosurgeon, whatever they're called. But he's gonna want to do the surgery because it's Sam and Dean, the Winchesters, who have to be killed. So
scary. Yeah, creepy.
Yeah.
So they have to try and escape from the hospital with Sam being unconscious and Dean with a broken leg. Bobby's not coming to save them, as far as they know, because he could be dead / in the wind because his house is burnt down. They don't have the Impala because that's back at Bobby's house. And Edgar's not dead, so even dropping a car on a Leviathan doesn't kill them. So it's a pretty bad situation that they're in right now.
Pretty bad situation. Yep. I'm guessing Sam told Dean that doing a shot to the head didn't do anything with silver. I'm guessing it was salt in that shotgun. But, like, why wouldn't you try and chop the head? I feel like that's the kind of order it goes. It's like, shoot it, chop its head off.
I guess they just didn't have, like, they didn't have big knife. They didn't have time for big knife.
But it's Bobby's house. And also, like, he has to do a surprise attack, so he can't really get close. So that was another sort of reason why I was like, maybe.
Because would dropping a car on a vampire kill it? No. But I guess Dean's leg was already broken, so they need to, like, incapacitate him enough to get away. Yeah. So that's fine. Yeah.
But they didn't know how long it was going to take for that. They could have been instant. Anyway, the thing is, what probably happened is that Edgar waited for them to go.
Yeah. I think it did incapacitate him to some extent. I think it's like the shock of having the car dropped on him took him a while to reconstitute his cells or something.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, yeah. But this episode, I liked it. I think it's a lot of exposition to get into the season. It's setting them up for the next episode. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting things established in this episode. Actually going through it, I actually like it more now than I did originally watching it. I think it's just because it felt long to get through. But, like, this episode's not going to be short either. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
I think it's good. I liked it. Probably because it's written by Ben Edlund, so he just puts in the little bits and bobs there that I quite enjoy. You know, I'm sad we're not going to see Cass now until like episode 16 or something.
Something like that. Yeah, it's late, much later on. Yeah, it's a long time. Too long. Too long. But I feel like we get some fun episodes in between. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure it has to be this one because Bobby doesn't survive long enough. Where we get the flashback with Bobby and Rufus. I think this is the season.
Yeah, possibly. There is one that's quite fun.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was this the season where, like, when they aired They Killed Off Cass, like, loads of people, like, wrote to the studio, like, you have to bring him back with the feathers, and they're like, please stop sending feathers. We have crew that are allergic to feathers. Stop sending them, please.
I think so.
I think it was this season.
I think it, yeah.
I need to look up some of that fandom lore.
Because what an ending. What an ending for Cass, right? If that was his last episode ever.
Look.
He got exploded.
Look. Look. I just feel like him getting dragged into the empty and never coming back out again is such a kick in the teeth after season 7. To me personally.
Right, yeah.
Because it's all just black goo all the way down, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah, it is as well, isn't it? God's sake.
It's just, I don't know. It was always just going to be black goo. It was just always going to be the black goo. That's how they wanted it to end for Cass, and that's how it did end for Cass. And then they never got to come back and say, I beat the black goo finally.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, with that, next episode is called The Girl Next Door, and it's directed by Jensen. So.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Look forward to that one.
Yeah.
I'm glad they let him direct more than one episode. He did quite a few in the end.
He did, yeah. Quite a lot. That's one convention question that I'd like to ask them. Is because I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, or maybe just to you. I've been watching X-Files for the first time.
Yes.
It's fun. Season 3 was hard to get through because it was just hard. But I also noticed that David Duchovny was playing a role in the writing in some of the episodes. So I'm wondering if they ever had, like, if any of them have ever had an inkling to be on the writing of an episode. Because obviously directorial, yes, and production, they you know, they ended up all doing well. Jared never directed anything, but Misha and Jensen do. So whether they would have wanted to be on a writing team to have a writer's credit.
I mean, I don't think that they have I don't know if they had a writer's credit. I don't know if Jensen had a writer's credit on the Winchesters. I don't think so. I think it was just executive producer along with his wife. I don't know if they had writing credits on that. I'd have to look it up. That'd be interesting, though. It's to be a good question to ask. Yeah. Sure.
Because they're involved with so many other aspects of TV creation that is writing. So I mean, and also, you know, if you're a good writer or not. Like I know I'm not a particularly good creative writer, so I wouldn't want to try and write an episode of a show. So maybe they just know their strengths and weaknesses, so they're just like, no, we'll leave the writers to do the writing, and we'll just do the acting.
I feel like if I had to do any kind of job like that, like I'm more of an organizational person. not a creative. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, give me an idea.
What?
And I'll make it happen. But someone else has to have the idea.
Yeah. I think I can come up with. Can I come up with the idea? I might be able to come up with the visuals once the organization's done.
Yeah, maybe we should just.
If someone
maybe
describes
we should work
it
together. Oh wait. Yeah. I'm more of a doer, not a thinker.
I would say that's not true, considering how long our episodes are. I think we're pretty good thinkers.
You're so right.
Maybe even, you know, overthinkers.
Yeah, you're so right and true. Like, honestly, because if I could be classed as any, if my name was in the dictionary, it would just say overthinker.
I have evidence in that one of our episodes recording is 4 hours.
Oh, I love her.
That if that doesn't scream overthinker for a 45-minute episode, I mean, what else
I know.
can you say?
It's fun.
I love it though. It's great. I love being here. I love overthinking with you.
I
it's
really
great.
enjoy it.
It's
and we're looking forward to next week. So yeah, let's roll this on out. Keep on trucking.
Sounds good. With the devil riding shotgun. So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. If you'd like to get that on a t-shirt, it's available on our Redbubble store. And we are also in a lot of places over social media. We are on Instagram, Bluesky, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, as Escaping Purgatory Podcast or Escaping Podcast on Bluesky.
That's right. Yeah, we're not on X anymore. No.
Cool. We might come off of Facebook too. It's getting weird. It's getting
weird out there, guys.
Yeah.
So this week, we went on a journey, you know, like there was a lot of exposition in our journey, and at the end of that journey, we were worse off than we began. So hopefully next week, we can find our way out. Bye!
Bye! You didn't see that, but I was nodding in agreement.